All right, so we're doing another video here. It's actually not on our product, but it's on the Vader Solutions fuel pump. So we have the 65 Omega in, we've got the Leviathan turboback exhaust, and of course we got the gamma system running here. We're going to be doing a fuel pump with the Vader Solutions fuel pump here. It's a Hellcat pump. It's run in parallel to the factory low pressure fuel pump, and you want to do that obviously, and you get the little adapter fitting, and it can flow about 1,000 total, which is great. And you definitely want to do an update on that if you're planning to go over E50, or you plan to actually make some, crazy power or whatever. So yeah, we're going to be doing that, and I just wanted to show you a quick video here on the intro of, you really want to get your gas way down low. So as you see there, we got 31 miles left. The ticks are basically gone. That's really where you want to be when you try and do this, since the fuel pump is at the bottom of the tank, and if you have a lot of fuel in there, you're just going to dump fuel all over yourself if you're trying to get it working. So anyway, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get the car lifted up. All right guys, we have the car up here, and my guy Keith from Extreme Boost Care, he's helping with the install. So of course we had to drop part of the Leviathan, the resonators. We got that heat shield out. Now that heat shield's out, working on releasing the cap there for the fuel pump assembly. Once that's done there, then we'll be able to show you, installing the whole system. But yeah, you're gonna need obviously the 13 mils to remove the V-bands on the Leviathan. And then of course, 10 mil and 8 mil sockets there to remove the plastic and everything from the bottom of the car so you can get to that heat shield. All right, so this is a part that's a little bit annoying, but here's the factory connection for the line right here, which is what you'll be drilling out if you're using the Vader Solutions. You see here what you have to do with the red tab. You actually have to pull the red tab out, which is what locks it. And then you have to use a flathead on the white tab on the back, then push down on that while the red one is out. And if the two are out, you can pull it off, and then you'll be able to release it. So earlier what we didn't show was the harness here, which was released from this location. So harness right here, we released it from right here. Real simple, the two of those things, and now this, you were able to get this assembly out by rotating it. So we'll just kind of push this over to the side. That way it's kind of out of the way. Then we can rotate and get this out of the unit. So you're just using this here, hammer to twist it. And you'll get your assembly out once that ring is out of the way. There we go. It's moving. Once that ring is out, you're in a good spot.
Here comes the messy part.
Yep, indeed. Again, you showed earlier in the video, make sure you are.
Make sure this gas tank is very, very low.
Very E, yeah. Should be super empty.
On E.
Yeah. As I showed earlier, the thing was begging, saying, please fill up. Yeah, this is really where you want it here. So that's the cap, and then there's an assembly inside. And we have to go in there, and it twists out of place. All right, once you have the assembly out, again, getting that out is actually not too hard. It's gonna be, you're looking for this inside of the car. You're not gonna be able to see it, so you have to kind of feel for this groove here. The nice thing is this sits towards the front of the car right here. This sits towards the back. You feel for your hand. You're gonna feel this piece at first. Don't squeeze here, obviously that's not gonna do anything. You wanna squeeze right here. Pull that up. That's gonna release it. And then all you need to do to get it out is you take here and you take the basket and you push it towards the front of the car, and it will release it off of the back here. And then you rock it up, and then you can get it out of where it was sitting there in terms of the clip. And then you're gonna have to start turning it over because it's gonna be a bunch of fuel still in the basket, and you will have to release the connector here from factory connector that's going across the saddle. You release this with just squeezing the sides. There's a blue tab on this one and it'll come right off. Once you have that taken off, it's just gonna be pulling out that gray tab right here and then releasing this. To do that, you push the piece of the gray tab back here, the barbed pieces of it, plastic, push that out, and then you'll see right here, there's some teeth on the front. You just want to put a little flathead underneath this yellow plastic piece and just lift it over so it passes those teeth, and then you just push up and it comes right out. Once you have that out, you can pull the whole assembly right out, and this is where you have it. Now the assembly is out. You have the Vader Solutions set up here. And so what you're gonna do is you kind of locate it here. You see that it can kind of slide a little bit different places. What you wanna do is you look for that locator tab here, and you wanna kind of match it up with the edge of this channel here. If you match it up with the edge, take a marker, mark a circle in there, and you'll see right here that the fuel float has plenty of room to clear the housing. If you go too far over here, fuel float's gonna get stuck and you're gonna have problems with your fuel level. All right, so that's all you need to do right there. And you match it up. And once you have it matched up, you can take this back off for a second. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a flathead and push in here and get these little tabs to be released. And then we can pull the yellow part out. And then from there, we can drill our hole. And how do we do this?
Okay, so you're going to get in the Vader Solution Pump, this is called a riv nut or a nut cert, riv cert. And what you're gonna need to do is go onto Amazon and buy what's called a riv nut setting tool. I have the Astro 14438. It's like 20 bucks. And it comes with different size threaded collars. And the way this works is you take the riv nut and you thread it on to the end of the tool until it's flush with the nut, and then when you squeeze, it crushes the length of this riv nut. This ridge section will mushroom. So what you gotta do is, on that spot that you marked, drill a small pilot hole, and then take a 9mm drill bit, has to be a metric 9mm drill bit, drill out the size of that hole, and then you put your riv nut on your tool and you stick it through the hole that you drilled and you squeeze the tool. Now, do not crush this tool closed because this is soft plastic. The metal will break the plastic. All you want to do is make sure that this flange is secure against the outside of the plastic, and the mushroom part on the back is secure against the back side of the plastic. All you're trying to do is make sure that this metal collar holds in place on the fuel basket. Again, please do not crush this down or you will break the fuel basket, and that's like an unrecoverable mistake. So be gentle. And then when you're done setting it, you just turn the knob on the back to release the tool from the set nut in the fuel basket. And now you will be able to take this screw that comes with a kit with this washer and just secure the extra fuel pump to the basket. So again, this is called a riv nut setting tool, 20 bucks on Amazon. Buy the hand one for a one this small because it's easier to be gentle. There are much larger ones that look like bolt cutters. Don't get one of those.
Agreed. We'll put the link in the description. Make it easy for you. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get this. We'll go ahead and release this, like we said, with a small little flathead. All right, there's 4 tabs. 1, 2, 3, 4. These ones on the 2 right here on the back, you want to put like a flathead in between there. These 2 on the front, you can kind of push with your hands. This is really good with a second pair of hands. It's really easy. And then that way you can just kind of fish it up, and then once you have created a little gap in the back, you can kind of work your way around, flathead, twist it up and get it out. but you won't be able to get all the way out unless you remove the float from the back here. And
yeah, so the way the float sensor comes out, this all has to be removed as a single unit. You pinch these two prongs here with one hand, and then you can push up on the bottom of the float sensor and put a finger here for leverage. So you kind of have to do one of these things, pinch here, and then with the other pair of hands, squeeze up. But the float sensor must come out as a single unit with the yellow part of the fuel basket. So remember, the trick is to squeeze these tabs at the top and the whole thing slides up.
yeah, perfect. And then, now that you have everything out, it's really simple to get this thing started. So you're looking for this connector here for this hose. You're gonna go ahead and cut this zip tie, and you're gonna go ahead and slice the hose on both ends because the Vader comes with a replacement hose. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and take that X-Acto knife and cut this, slice it right up on here. Take your time. Gentle. There you go. That looks like it released.
Almost. There we go. One more little bob.
Boom. Nice.
There we go.
Perfect.
So now we have that off. We'll do the same thing, take the knife and do the same thing on the other end and get this whole hose out of the way, and you'll just throw this away.
Yep.
One more tip when you're using your X-Acto knife or razor blade on the fuel hose. The fuel hose is pretty soft. Please do not try to cut it in one cut. Make multiple passes with the knife in the same location so you can gradually get it off, because these connectors on top of the fuel hat, these are plastic too. So you don't want to cut through these. So please be gentle removing this hose. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this zip tie off and get rid of this hose and get a replacement. If you are going to get a replacement zip tie, it must be a pure nylon zip tie. That's the material that can be submerged in gasoline.
Come in here, we actually bought the upgraded fitting for fuel, so we can cut in here and we can actually cut that piece off on the bottom and also on the top, and then we're going to drill it out for the upgraded flow fitting, which will allow you to go to about 1,000 horsepower. Not like we plan on doing that, but just that's what you'll need if you guys plan on getting anywhere close to there.
And then you have to take a drill bit, and we use the same 9mm drill bit that we're ultimately going to use on the fuel basket, and we just drilled right through the hole that we made once we cut the barb fitting off, and that took care of the backside. The backside kind of just like exploded off the top hat. The next thing you have to do is you have to get a step bit. You need one that goes up to 3/4 of an inch, and you want to mark with a Sharpie where 3/4 inch is on your bit. See, we've marked 3/4 of an inch, and that allows us to drill the hole, and we know we're at the right place and when to stop because we see the Sharpie mark go through the hole. It is better if you have one of the long, tall step bits instead of one of these stubbier, wider step bits. It's just safer. Last tip, don't try to go all the way through the hole from one side. Drill a little bit on one side, flip it over, drill a little bit on the other, and work back and forth until you have the hole drilled all the way through. Because, if I may have this fitting is the new replacement for the barbed fitting you cut off, the place that the hose went, and it goes through this 3/4 inch hole, okay? And you'll have two sides. You've got one with a rubber gasket, a rubber O-ring, and the other side has a big flat plastic washer. And the goal is to sandwich the top and the bottom, gasket on one side, and the washer.
All right, so when you're doing this from the back side here, we're going to put in this bulkhead fitting. There's a little, I don't even know what that is, tower plastic thing.
A mold pin, I suppose?
Mold pin. It serves literally zero purpose. So you remove it from this side. That way you have a nice flat surface. And you're going to want to take something, your X-Acto knife, and just kind of make sure it's nice and smooth right there so that the big nylon, I guess, O-ring can sit there nice and flat against it, nice and flush.
Just to be clear, you need an X-Acto knife with a flat blade. Notice the blade is on the end instead of the side. And you use it essentially as a chisel to remove the mold pillar, because this O-ring has to sit right here, and it cannot unless you have the pin removed. So when it's fully assembled, you have a black rubber O-ring, washer goes here, and this is the back side of the housing, okay? And then you flip it over. Now you have the nut that goes on the top side, and you want to tighten that down with adjustable wrenches so it never moves. Don't hook it on there and break the plastic, but make it snug.
Yeah. Nice thing is if it ever does slightly back out, with it being outside, you could get back to it again. But it should never.
Also, you can use Loctite.
You know we're gonna use Loctite. Rob always uses Loctite.
Loctite the world. Okay, so when you use your riv nut tool, there's the riv nut set in the fuel basket, and here's what the back side should look like. Notice it mushrooms and now holds the riv nut captive against the fuel basket. And the downside to all of this is you're gonna have to get the screw, the black bolt with the silver washer that comes with this riv nut, you're gonna have to get it into the riv nut once the whole fuel tank is back, or the fuel basket is back in the tank. So don't even bother trying to put the bolt into the hole for now, but it should look like this.
Like this. All right, so now we're gonna put this back in. Very simple. Obviously the flat side goes in the back, and you just slide it down, and whoop, there
Snaps
you go.
in.
Snap it into place. Then we take our float and whoop, there you go, back into place. All right.
Now how did we loop this? We had this.
This goes down under this loop.
Right here. Goes right.
Right there. Cool. Back into place. This is the connector that's going to connect to everything else. So now we have to put this onto here. So this is going to go here. Jammed up on there. Yes, sir. You can see it's not going anywhere. You don't need to worry about it.
That's called a push lock fitting. Anytime you see 3 barbs in a row, it's called a push lock. The 3 barb system holds the hose in place at a very reasonable pressure limit. And these pumps only flow 40 to 60 PSI depending on the car, and that's more than enough for this setup here.
Yeah. All right. So this right here plus this, you can see that the flow wires in together, and this is what actually leaves, and this is what connects to the underside here of here. Boom. And that's it. So we can actually connect that back. Boom. Connected. So now you have the setup with both pumps flowing through this new fitting that we've installed, and then you're going to connect this on the outside of the car back to your factory fuel line. We have to drill this piece right here for the positive and negative. So you can see right here, these are your positive and negative connectors, and this is going to allow this connector to plug into the bottom of here, and then this is going to go through the system. And you see how there's 2 sets of nuts here. One of them is going to pin this side to the underside. So this is going underside, pinned right there, and then you're going to have the other set of nuts that are going to allow you to connect to this part of the harness. All right, drill through. We used a 5mm drill bit. Drill these 2 holes. Make sure you mark them, positive, negative, because whatever you put on the back side, that's what it is, okay?
And just to be super clear, red is always your positive wire, black is always negative or ground. And anytime you see that in automotive wiring, red is probably 12-volt positive, black is always ground.
Yes, absolutely. So in this case, we know what these are, so that when we have this all back assembled, we'll be able to properly hook up the rest of the harness that goes to the battery.
That's right. And the harness goes on, positive side of the harness goes on this stud. Mm-hmm. Negative side of the harness goes on this stud.
Yep.
And then you use those nuts to secure to the posts.
Yep.
And then this connector
goes right in here
to the fuel pump.
Boop. So we can actually put that in right now, and then we can easily just put the whole assembly in the tank.
These are stubborn because they're sealed and nylon.
Yeah, which is good. Make sure that it doesn't have any problems with the fuel. All right, and this is the completed assembly. Posts in place, high flow fittings in place. We've connected here the new fuel pump to the posts, and everything's connected. We even made sure we put on the included clamp there, worm gear clamp to the fuel hose there from the factory pump. Factory pump clamp coming in here again, wide in, and then coming here through the fuel hat with the new Vader Solutions pump, which is that Walbro 525 LPH, or liter per hour, which is called the Hellcat pump. So you have those two in there, everything is good to go. This right here, if you remember the connector, that is, don't worry about that. You're gonna, oh, what did I put on it? That's the connector there for the saddle, right? Make sure you have both halves of the connected. So we're good to go here. We are ready to put in the assembly. As a reminder here, this is gonna go over here. You can't do it until it is inside of the gas tank first. Put it in the gas tank first, and then you can assemble it with it in there. As I mentioned there earlier, this part is towards the back. This part here goes towards the front of the car, okay? Let's go ahead and put it into place. All right, so you need to make sure you put the fuel basket in first, and then once you have that system in, then you can move your other pump in and then reattach that as a full assembly. All right, it's all back together. As we talked about before, you want to just go ahead, you put the assembly in first, then you attach the pump again to the side, then you use that little clip to push it in, like we talked about earlier. Then you just do the reverse of everything else that we did, and you see that's what we had talked about with the plus and minus. You're calling that out, that way you can match up the harness there on the back side, so that when we put on the other one, it'll be easy to work through on this system. So yeah, the big thing is, you'll see in the picture that's on the screen, the clips that are on the left hand side. You want to basically make sure that your fuel basket goes up and underneath that, and then you rock it back down and then get it to clip into place. It's a little tricky, but don't give up, you'll get it done. Yeah, so that's pretty much the system there. Again, just follow that pattern there that we show there on the screen. You'll be able to get it knocked out. But yeah, once you have everything set up there, hook up everything on internally, make sure this cap goes back on, and then do the reverse of what we had done earlier to basically rotate it back in so that it's a nice tight seal. And then you're done for this. And then we're gonna go ahead and work on the harness side, and I'll go back top side to show you what that harness looks like, and you will see exactly how everything is supposed to flow. All right, we are looking at the harness installed. This is the old harness. I will show a picture here shortly of the new one towards the end of this little segment, but I just want to show you guys how it works. So here's the old harness. So you have part of it that's going down. It's going down to the this part right here, the blue and the green. This is going towards our Motiv Reflex underneath the hood. And you have the other part here that's going down power wise and running power to the Vader, like we saw the positive and negative there on the fuel hat that you saw earlier, right? So what you're trying to do at this moment really is to make sure you've got everything hooked up. It's very easy. Now you're gonna have to come in here and modify this if you're having the Vader fuel pump be turned on by your Motiv Reflex, right? So you can look at this, the relay here, and you can look and see the actual blades, and you can match the blades up. But what you're going to see here, that blue wire that's going there, you're going to connect it here to this one, and then the green wires, you can kind of leave it there and just make sure you go right there. So that's just basically going to cut this red wire from over here being triggered by here, and you're going to move it over here. And that's all you really need to do to make sure that you are you're matching up what you need to, right? So, and then of course the positive goes on the positive, the battery. Negative, you can try and stretch it over and get it over onto this terminal. That works great. Or if you're going to put it on somewhere, you have to remove the paint from any of these ground surfaces. So underneath this, we scratched off all the paint underneath here, we scratched off the paint here, so we have a proper ground. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll have an intermittent grounding issue and your pump will not run properly, especially in upper RPMs. But that's basically it. Pretty simple. And like I said, I'm not showing it here, but you just attach the positive and negative ring terminals there on the other part of the harness to the fuel hat that you already set up. It's that simple. Now, so what I recommend, obviously you install from in here and you run the wire down, that way you can get it to the fuel hat from in here. But yeah, let's go ahead and show you now the new harness. The new harness, you will not have to modify like this one here. This harness is designed for you to be able to plug it directly into the Motiv Reflex Plus so that it can actually turn on your pump properly without having to do any modifications. So if you have the old harness, modify it. If you don't, then you don't have to worry about it. And so here right now, what I'm going to show you is old harness. This is the blade configuration that you want to do for matching it up. And new harness, like I said, you won't have to worry about. So, you know, whichever one you've got, you'll be good to go. But yeah, this will work really well. And then what you're going to do in the front, we'll go around the front so I can show you how you hook everything up. So here we are underneath the hood, and you can see here this is the Motiv Reflex. And so what you're going to look for on the Reflex harness is aux out 2, and that's what's going to connect to your fuel pump. And that's it. So now once you connected the aux out 2 to there, the tuner will be able to properly set up the Reflex Plus for turning on your fuel pump at whatever given, you know, RPM or load calculations and set points that they has there in the tune. So really simple, not that hard to do. The hardest part of this job obviously is getting everything into the fuel basket and getting that fuel basket back into the tank. That's the hardest part, but if you can do that, you'll be good to go. As always, happy boosting and God bless.